115 people, gone without a trace. No bodies, no graves, just one carved word. That's all anyone's known about Roanoke for 400 years. But there was a first colony, a year before the famous one, and it already failed, already turned violent, already burned every bridge with the one tribe that could have saved everyone who came after. And in the last 15 years, a string of new discoveries has done something nobody expected. It might have actually solved it. Year 1585, Sir Walter Raleigh sends over 100 men to Roanoke Island, off the coast of what's now North Carolina. The governor, Ralph Lane, isn't exactly a diplomat. Paranoid that the local tribes are turning on him, he launches a preemptive attack. One of his men kills their chief. The other tribes cut off all food. The colony starts starving. By pure luck, the English privateer Sir Francis Drake happens to be sailing past. He finds the starving colonists and takes them home. A resupply ship arrives just days later. Too late. The colony's already empty. They leave 15 men behind to hold the outpost and sail back to England. Nobody ever finds out what happened to those 15 men. When the next group arrives, all they find is a scattering of bones. In 1587, Raleigh tries again. This time, it's families, men, women, children, not soldiers. John White leads them, an artist by trade, bringing his own pregnant daughter, Eleanor. Traveling with them is a Croatoan man named Manteo, who had already sailed to England twice and spent months building trust with White. Once they land, White baptizes him and names him chief of both Roanoke and Croatoan, the first Native American to receive an English title. It's a small moment, but it means the colonists now have one real ally, with deep ties on both sides. The plan is to check on Roanoke, then continue north to Chesapeake Bay for a better location. The ship's navigator refuses to sail any further. Everyone gets dropped at Roanoke instead. Days after landing, a colonist named George Howe, wandering alone near the shore looking for crabs, is shot with 16 arrows. A message. Whatever the first colony started, the local tribes haven't forgotten it. Eleanor gives birth. Her daughter, Virginia Dare, becomes the first English child born in the Americas. The timing couldn't be worse. Supplies are already critically low. The colonists beg White to sail back to England for help. He doesn't want to leave his daughter. He goes anyway, promising to return within the year. He doesn't make it back for 3 years. England goes to war with Spain. Every ship gets grounded to defend against the Spanish Armada. White tries once, gets attacked by French ships, takes a bullet, turns back. By the time he finally sails again, it's 1590. He reaches the island. No shouting, no colonists running to greet him, just fresh footprints in the sand and silence. The settlement isn't burned or looted in a panic. It's been carefully taken apart, rebuilt into something closer to a fort. One word is carved into a post, Croatoan. Nearby, on a tree, C-R-O. Before leaving, White had told the colonists exactly what to do if they were ever forced out under attack. Carve a cross next to whatever message they left. There's no cross anywhere. Whatever happened, they weren't fleeing an ambush. They left on purpose, and they left calm enough to leave a clue. A storm wrecks White's ship before he can reach Croatoan Island to check the obvious lead. He never gets another chance. He dies years later in England, never learning what happened to his own daughter and granddaughter. For over 300 years, that's where the trail runs cold. Then, slowly, pieces start turning up. In 1888, a group of 54 Croatan Native Americans petitioned the U.S. Congress for aid, describing themselves as descendants of White's lost colony. Government investigators who look into it note something odd. Several of them have gray eyes, a trait not otherwise seen in the region. In 1937, a tourist walking near the Chowan River in North Carolina finds a stone with strange carvings. Translated from Old English, it reads like a message meant for John White himself, that the colonists faced 2 years of misery and war, that half of them died from sickness, that after a savage message and threat of revenge, most of the group fled, and that most of them were murdered, all except 7. The stone lists the burial site. It's signed with 3 initials, E.W.D., Eleanor White Dare. More Dare stones start appearing after that, dozens of them, telling an increasingly elaborate story of survivors traveling hundreds of miles inland. Investigators eventually prove nearly all of them are forgeries, carved by a stonecutter looking to make money. But the very first stone, the original one, still puzzles researchers today. In 2016, scientists analyzed its surface and found weathering patterns consistent with genuine, centuries-old ware, the kind that's extremely difficult to fake with 1930s technology. Meanwhile, researchers turned back to a map John White drew himself decades earlier. Like most maps of that time, it has small patches covering minor corrections. In 2012, using X-ray imaging, researchers look underneath one specific patch and find something hidden, a symbol shaped like a fort. Its location lines up almost exactly with a spot White mentioned in his own notes, 50 miles inland, where the colonists had once talked about relocating. Archaeologists dig there. They find English pottery and metal fragments mixed in with Native American artifacts, evidence of a blended community, not a battlefield. In 2023, archaeologists digging at a different site, an old Roanoke area village, find something else, a coiled copper wire with rounded strands, a manufacturing technique no local tribe used at the time. Only the English could have made it. Then, on Hatteras Island, the actual place called Croatoan at the time, archaeologists find something even more specific, hammer scale, tiny flecks of metal that fly off when a blacksmith strikes hot iron. Local tribes in that region didn't work metal that way. English colonists did. Put it together, a working forge, running for years, inside a Native American village that history books have spent 4 centuries calling the place the Lost Colony vanished from. Scott Dawson, who runs the Croatoan Archaeological Society and has spent years excavating Hatteras Island, put it about as bluntly as it gets. The colony didn't vanish. They went exactly where the message said they went. Croatoan was never a mystery. It was the answer, carved right into the post the whole time. So the lost colony was never really lost, just absorbed, written out of one history and folded quietly into another. And tell me, does They Assimilated feel like a satisfying ending? Or does part of you want it to stay unsolved?